let's just start off with a quick intro of everybody. So in one sentence, a sentence is a word that ends with a period. Tell us your name, your title, and how your company is representing or improving infrastructure in Web3. Should we start with Grigore?
Start from here. I am Grigore Roșu. I'm a professor of computer science and also the founder of Runtime Verification and Pi². And I'm here on behalf of Pi². And what we do is universal verifiable computing that is done through proof of proof. Pi² comes from proof of proof, which means simplistically ZK proofs of mathematical proofs. And we hope this will serve as a foundation for the future of verifiable computing.
Swayam?
Mark.
Mark. Okay. Hey, Mark.
Hello.
Oh, you're Mark. Oh, hi.
Yeah, it's complicated. Hello, my name is Mark, and I work with Mantle, and we're contributing to the Web3 ecosystem by tirelessly supporting and building innovative, real products.
Mamy. Just one. Good. Good.
Hi, I'm Mamy, Chief Scientist at Taiko, and Taiko is building a rollup. We try to be the most Ethereum-aligned rollup with credible neutrality. We have multi-provers. We have permissionlessness, with everyone being able to propose a block and to prove a block. So scaling, hopefully without any compromise to the ethos of Ethereum.
Hi, this is Swayam here. I lead ecosystem at Zetachain. So Zetachain is primarily omni-chain infrastructure, which is mainly scaling horizontally and enabling more chain abstraction kind of infra. Yeah, that's it.
Cecilia?
Hi, I'm Cecilia. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Morph, and Morph is the first Ethereum Layer 2, which combines ZK and OP rollup together. And also, we are the first chain which is built for consumers. We are a consumer blockchain. And also, we are backed by Dragonfly, Pantera, Bigot. Yeah.
Great. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for being here on time, unlike me. Okay, so rollup interoperability is pretty diluted right now if you look at the landscape, right? So we need concentrated interoperability to move forward from this. So how can we make that happen? We can start with Mantle. Mark.
All right. Just to point out, we have a few ecosystem people on this panel, and then we have a few technical people on the panel, so I think we're going to get a few different kinds of views and perspective, which is good.
Yeah.
Maybe. So, yeah, from my perspective, I think, I don't know, I haven't ever heard of the word diluted or concentrated interoperability, so I'm not quite sure what it means. But I think, especially on an application level, in general, I'm actually for, in some sense, dilution, where I want kind of rich options and several different options for building and solving these problems. So I think in the beginning, it's going to be growing pain. There will be several different standards and several different attempts at solving this problem. And that's okay. Ultimately, if we standardize too quickly, or especially on an app level, if we decide the winner too quickly, I think that kind of kills innovation, kills competition. So for now, let's just deal with it. Let's support innovation. Let's support a variety of solutions, and that's good. I think on the other hand, though, yeah, there's definitely some standards. I think Vitalik just tweeted about this a couple weeks ago, where he was talking about 3770, and then which is kind of like adding a prefix to each address, and the prefix is essentially a chain ID or maybe some sort of a name for the blockchain itself, so that when you're using your addresses, part of that address or the prefix of that address denominates which chain you're talking about, which is kind of cool. And I think that's the Gnosis team proposal from 2021 or something like that. Another proposal was this kind of cross-chain exchange standard that was also quite interesting. And then I think there's like a few like simple ways of starting to kind of explore this stuff, and then even some other folks here, you know, incorporating some other more complex solutions. And yeah, I think exploring all of it at this stage is healthy, and it's going to be, it's going to come with some growing pain in the beginning for sure.
Just to specify, that is what I meant, just kind of having a lot of different standards. If everybody is like interoperable with everybody else, and you just end up with a lot of fragmentation. So like, I guess the question is it time now to be more fragmented and then eventually converge, or should we start with something a little more concentrated in the beginning?
So there is an initiative by Justin Drake that was first publicly announced in, I think in March, called United Chains of Ethereum. So the idea is that if every rollup become based, so remove the centralized sequencer and have L1 validator being the one who propose blocks for every rollup, they become able to confirm block of multiple rollup at the same time and allow cross-chain transaction and compatibility. And then I guess one of the interop thing, which is both great and sad, is that everyone is compatible with MetaMask. And so they will be able to change, well, any wallet, change the UI so that you have cross-rollup transaction with the help of the EIP that you, ERC, EIP, I don't know, they change a bit, that you just mentioned.
Does anyone have anything? Swayam?
Yeah, sure. So I think the core question comes back to what exactly we are making interoperable, and the question comes back to, I think every chain or every project has a different approach in what they're solving. So if you break it down, the interoperability, it could be on the operational level, it could be on the liquidity layer, or it could be on the UX level. Now, this could be like account abstraction has been a big part of the entire narrative in EVM to bring it more, bring more liquidity or just accounts together to make the UX easy. But I think if you just extend that part to gas abstraction or to chain abstraction, you probably need to think about the other chains and how they operate. And that's where I think Zetachain is playing a role to make it a bit more chain abstraction without having the standardization, because I think it's too early for this industry to go in the direction of standardizing the interoperability. I think there's a lot of innovation happening. We just had a panel before this. We had a really good discussion with Across and few of the other providers. It's moving fast, but we still are not there yet to do standardize it. There are different layers of problems that are being solved, but we don't know how to map it together. So yeah, I think it's about how and what is being interop and how you approach it.
Yeah, maybe we can build a little bit off of that comment. As you said, there's a lot of different aspects, whether it's UX or chain abstraction or liquidity. I'm wondering if the panelists have any opinions on which one is the most important to do first, or it's like everything at once, because obviously that's a very high tech burden if you're doing it all at once, right?
Yeah. So I think everyone, if we see the landscape, it's everyone has fragmented. I think everyone has picked the niche in the modular stack on what they are making interoperable. It could be on the sequencer level, it could be on the chain level, it could be on the gas level. So I think the efforts there, it's just about mapping it together and how it fits together. But I think we're too early to put it together. Yeah.
I think we need to ask users at hackathon. You want to build an app, what's your pain point? And oh, my liquidity is on rollup A, I want to go on rollup B, and then come back to rollup A because that's where I have most of my activity, and then they can't, so maybe they leave and we lost someone.
Okay, I'm going to build off something that you said yesterday, actually, where you said you interviewed a bunch of product people, and all the product people said that the best product they've used in Web3 is MetaMask, right? When we all know it's false. So when you're asking these users or people who are building dApps or who are actually more end-user client-facing, what is the process that you go through to actually kind of surface what their needs are?
Here, look at me. First of all, I'm not a technical background person, so if it's too technical, I cannot give you a perfect answer. I don't think I'm the expert here to talk about tech. But I think, Stephany, you raised up a very good question about talking to the builders. I mean, I think we have Taiko, Mantle, Zetachain, all of these layer 2s here. And we are only talking about technology. I gave a keynote just maybe 2 hours ago. I think it's like the early stage of layer 2s. Like we take care about the rollups, which rollup should we use, what kind of scalability solution we should use, but we never ask the developers what do they need, right? What kind of interoperability they need, whether it's a UX or liquidity or whatever. We don't know, but I agree with Taiko scientists. Yeah, definitely we should go to these builders and ask them about that first. It's not about asking the rollups, like which one do you think is a priority? Yeah.
Are there any builders in the audience who can speak to that? Maybe not. They're like, we're not here. Okay, we can move on. So I think we are, So we are slowly moving from, what is the most important incentive, right? Because you guys are all from chains, for sovereign rollups to be interoperable. Like, why do you want that, and how can we move more towards it?
Well,
is this just a fireside chat between me and Mamy?
On Taiko's side, we have a strong ethos and alignment with Ethereum, so we cannot go back to remove the L1 validators from being our sequencer. So if you want to be interoperable with anyone, it's only the one that chooses the same architecture. And I guess that's the most important part for us. Hopefully, peer pressure and cypherpunks convinced everyone here to get into this, and then maybe there will be economic or network effect, because people start to do this, and then if you want to tap into those kind of interoperability, everyone will start to jump in, which is what happened with the EVM versus EVM killers from 2019.
Yeah, I think there are two sides of me. On one hand, I want to be very friendly to all the chains, establish some highways for us to beautifully work together and build beautiful composable smart contracts that read and write across the blockchains, and everybody lives happily ever after. So I'm being slightly facetious, but also yes, like we have to figure out how to work together, because ultimately some users really need that and want that. On the other hand, which has also kind of been the Mantle approach, maybe in the beginning of our ecosystem kind of building strategy, is more like how can we build a beautiful island where we invite the people, and okay, there's no highway to that island, but once you come to the island, we're going to take care of you, and you're going to have a beautiful time. It's not going to look like Brussels. It's going to look like paradise. And although I love Brussels, I don't know why people are complaining. So I think right now we're still in a stage where a lot of L2s especially are kind of focused on native ecosystems, which definitely is something that was our focus. So we were kind of turning a blind eye toward or like not looking too much into the interop solutions, because that, in some sense, that can create more complex applications and so on. So the first stage is to build something that's really beautiful for the user. The user has a good time. There's a reason for the users to come to the chain, and then yeah, for some users, we're going to have to look into some other kind of interop solutions and keep them happy also. But I would say right now, actually, to be a devil's advocate, there's also value in creating very good islands in these ecosystems. I
think I'm going to play off of that analogy very quickly. I think islands are great. But sometimes they don't have utilities, right? Like electricity or Wi-Fi and things like that. So sometimes you do have to build some underground tunnels and some connections into other places in order to make that work, right? And
yeah, and for that you need resources, and for that you need a large treasury, which Mantle is uniquely positioned in the sense to build all sorts of stuff with our existing treasury. So for those who don't know, we are by far the largest on-chain treasury. We have, depending how ETH does on any given day, we have about $4 billion of assets. A lot of those are, again, in ETH, as well as various stables and so on. So yeah, we're in a very fortunate position to build a pretty cool island with all sorts of infrastructure built in.
So maybe we're gonna still roll with this analogy. Yeah, you have to have amenities, right? So for Mantle, it is the treasury. For the rest of you, what are the things that you're doing to attract these builders onto your island? What are you offering?
Yeah, I think for us, we are breaking down the access to these islands. I think we are trying to provide a unified way to provide the access or the UX to the users. It could be treasury that is attractive for the users, but mainly at this point we enable access to BTC, ETH, BNB, that are the core chains we support. We enable the liquidity of the BTC that it's untapped liquidity which could be used for most of the DeFi stuff on where the network effects are on the island side, which is EVM. And that's what we are enabling. We are trying to figure out how to bring value to the existing chains. And we are not in the business of adding more chains. It's just about figuring out how to bring more value to the islands like Mantle. Because I think they have the treasury, but I think it's still how do you bring users and utility on top of it?
Yeah, I think this will get back to the first idea why we want to start the new layer 2, because there are already 175 layer 2s, I believe, even more on the market right now. And here we already have several sitting here. The reason, the main differentiation we have is that we look into a lot of the other chains. Probably they are not solving the builders' pain points. I mean, if you talk with the builders, it seems like they're just switching from different chains to get grants. And that's the only thing they're looking for right now. And they don't have any brand stickiness. I believe it's the same, problems you guys also facing. When we talk to these projects, they come to us and say, how many grants you are giving me? And we immediately pass this kind of projects because that the next thing he do is go to Mantle for another 50K grants, right? So definitely we are not going to build with this kind of builders. But the reason why they are doing so is also because that they are lacking support. I heard from a lot of builders that they go to a chain, basically it's just technical integration and that's it. DevRel helps them with that and that's the end. But after that, they have so much resources they need. They want to grow together with the ecosystem of the chain, but they cannot get any support. So for us, we are creating something, it's called Morph's Venture Studio model for the builders, which is end-to-end support from incubation, for example, to helping you build up your team, and then helping you to write the deck to the investors, and looking for investor resources for you, and funnel the users. As I mentioned, we are backed by centralized exchanges. We have 30 million users, so we can help to funnel these users to you guys. And last but not least, we can help you to do listing. So what we are doing is actually building a VC alliance at this end. So first beginning, we help them to help the builders to fundraising. And then they go into our whole ecosystem. We help to incubate them, to grow, to give them users. And at the end, we have a centralized exchange alliance, which help them to do listing. So it's a full journey of support, which I don't think they can find anywhere else. Yeah.
All right, so we are the newest company here. Probably nobody heard of us here, Pi². So let me tell you a bit about how we do things and what we aim at and what we bring to the community. So we come from the world of programming languages and programming language foundations, and where programming languages are mathematical theories, and where computation in these programming languages is mathematical proof. And this way, we uniformly want to bring all programming languages and virtual machines from the Web 2 world to the Web 3. You don't have to implement compilers. You know, compilers have bugs. Interpreters have bugs. Because everything is reduced to very rigorous mathematical proofs, not cryptographic proofs, mathematical proofs. Computation of any kind can be translated into mathematical proofs in the same universal mathematical language. And then we verify the mathematical proofs and generate cryptographic proofs, ZK proofs, from mathematical proofs. And this is a foundation for universal verifiable or verified computing. In other words, using the same machinery, the same circuitry, you support all programming languages, virtual machines, even JavaScript, PHP if you want to, or C or Java. For us, there is no difference between these languages in the technology that we develop. There is nothing we do specifically for EVM or Python or Rust or WASM. Python or Rust or WASM or EVM, they are just mathematical theories describing what these languages are. So we believe that this is one way to entertain users because they can use any language they want, the languages they grew up with. And we believe that is a powerful message. And at the same time, you don't have to worry about the correctness of complex circuits under the hood because everything is correct by construction because it goes through mathematical proofs. As I said, we are still at the beginning. So you guys have a lot more experience with users, you experimented, you know what works, what doesn't. We are still scratching the surface on that front. So we learn from you, but we hope we'll bring something that was always there in the programming language field, but somehow it didn't transcend into the Web3 space, which is that programming languages are not that important. We don't have to hardware a language in the chain or the rollup. You can plug and play your language and have as many languages as needed. And we believe that in the future we'll see blockchains with lots of languages, all languages around. And if you don't like the existing languages, invent your own, plug and play it, and now you write smart contracts in your language without compiling or translating to some other languages. That's our mission.
I mean, there's a lot of languages, not just in Web3, right? Also in Web 2, that's something that has not transcended other industries as well. So I think we have universal programming languages, we have big treasuries, we have end-to-end support. What about Zetachain and Taiko? How are you attracting?
Yeah, I think for us, it has been a bit of a different approach because most of the EVM space is L1 with L2s with just EVM deployment. And what we essentially are doing is a different model where we want projects to deploy omni-chain smart contracts, which basically is more about thinking. It's a different design on how you think an application or a product building. It's more aggregation kind of product. So this requires more 0-to-1 approach rather than just coming and asking a grant for deployment or just deploying a smart contract. So we tend to work very closely with the projects with very selective dev teams to build some good products. Our core focus has been on the UX, on how to make sure that the entire interoperability scene and how a user access application is as slick as possible. And that's what we have been working for. What we bring to the projects is a support in terms of product design. We are working towards building a design language that scales. More like if you go to our docs, we also have template for omni-chain smart contracts that you can already try to deploy with a provided front end. So it's already easy to deploy. So we are building these templates for them for the adoption to make this easy. But at the end, it's education. We cannot. Projects are part of the ecosystem, and we want to help them as much as we can. But at the end, they need to figure out a sustainable model for themselves.
So Taiko just released, we just released our mainnet a month ago. Okay. So we have had this problem really very keen, as in we have a chain that's empty. how do we populate it so that we have users' activity, and we focus relentlessly on retention, because even if we do ads, if there is nothing to keep them on chain, they will leave. You'll have big numbers for a week and then they'll leave. This is something that has been in Taiko DNA for a long, long time, with I think the layer 2 with the highest number of users on Discord, on Twitter. We have a dedicated team to a moderator that we pick from the community, and all the BD communication, they all have DevRel as well, so that the technical people and people in relationship with users or builders are all together. And we don't lose part of the tech team while doing BD or user communication, and we don't lose the BD team with new fancy ZK tech, and they are completely lost about the actual impact on the users.
Great. Just want to say I really appreciate how many people in the audience are not on their phones, so thank you for that. But if, I think there is quite a bit of differentiation on this stage, and obviously there's a lot of other L2 chains out there, but there's some really great resources. I feel like L2 Beat is a great one if you are a developer and you are trying to figure out which is the best chain for you, and there's just a lot of information out there as well to kind of pick.
Can I just add something to the last one? Yeah, just because the emphasis was slightly, I think, wrong with Mantle. So I don't think big treasury brings anyone. I mean, other than, some grant grifters, for sure. I do think, however, especially since the topic here today is interoperability, what a lot of new product teams and developers and builders are struggling with is that they can have the most amazing DeFi mechanism design, but if liquidity sucks, there's not going to be any users using it, right? So everybody, especially in DeFi, is struggling with bootstrapping liquidity, and that's something where we have an unfair advantage of like, okay, let's press a button and help you out in the beginning so you can start the growth flywheel, and that's something. And then once we have these beautiful products with deep liquidity, user acquisition is much easier. So that's kind of the point. We can also play around with our unfair advantage. For example, we have a product called, it's a liquid staking protocol called METH or METH, or however you prefer to pronounce it. We're decentralized, so everybody has their own opinion on the pronunciation of this. So, for example, like how did we have a double yield as opposed to Lido? Well, we deposited 100,000 ETH of our own treasury funds into the liquid staking protocol, and instead of us taking the 3.6%, which usually Lido gives to the user, we give all of that back to the users who have staked their ETH with us. So there you go, 7.2%, and it's sustainable. Our ETH stays the same, but the user goes up. So again, it's we have various kind of strategic initiatives and products, and as well as kind of liquidity support that we provide for products that then end up significantly helping with user adoption and actually getting people to be able to trade and use these products.
Sure, yeah, definitely. The issues around liquidity are what led to a lot of the cross-chain, a lot of the interoperable solutions, and that's incredibly important. So, speaking about some of your innovations, there's also a lot of other ones out there like shared sequencers, ABSs. What are some of your favorite or the best innovations around interoperability that you guys are looking forward to? Can be on your own chain or otherwise.
Well, if I may start, because we don't have a chain yet, so I can speak. So there is a huge opportunity with zero knowledge and cryptography that can help a lot with interoperability, because we do not have to execute programs. So executing programs is tricky. You need to have the right environments, the right VM, running the right program, and then if you call another program in a different environment, you have to switch to that environment. It's all complicated. But with zero-knowledge technology and verifiable computing in general, we have the opportunity to only think and glue the interfaces. We don't need to re-execute the programs. And that's a huge opportunity because of course, interoperability can be achieved many different ways. You can compile everything to one language and then have the right interfaces. Another one is to actually only communicate at the level of interfaces. But with ZK, we can have another way to do things. We do computation remotely. We know the result is true. Now we just have to commit the result. And this gives us, I think, an advantage that was not there before. And it allows us to put together all languages. So, yeah, I know I repeat myself, but it really doesn't matter what language you use as far as you go from state 1 to state 2. And this way you can have all languages live together, and interoperability is simpler.
Well, I think since you mentioned the shared sequencer, I also want to talk about the decentralized sequencer. We just got it live. So it's already live on our testnet. I think when we talk about, the blockchain concept, philosophy, or the trilemma of blockchain, it's always safety, decentralization, and scalability, right? And we, as Rollups, we're solving the problems of scalability, but sometimes we just forgot, or not sometimes, I think most of us forgot about the decentralization part. So almost all of the chains, they are using centralized sequencer at the moment, and this caused some problem, which we also see recently. There will be single point failure. Once that sequencer has some problem, then the whole chain just shut down. So we have so much discussion about whether we should still use a centralized sequencer or we should change to shared sequencer or decentralized sequencer. So I think this is a thing, right? Definitely, if you use a decentralized sequencer, you solve the problem of single point failure, and also you are solving the problem of MBB. And also, like all the chain's profits coming from the sequencer fee, right? Optimism have, I think for 1 month, they can generate more than 1 million profits from the sequencer fee using the single sequencer. And also Base, I know that in March, they got more than 20 million profits in their sequencer fee. So it's crazy. But having a decentralized sequencer means that you are giving up that profits from the roll-up side. So this is what Morph is doing, because we still think that we need to stick to this decentralization concept for blockchain. Otherwise, we are not focusing on this decentralization part. Yeah. So right now we have 7 sequencers on our testnet, and on mainnet we are planning to have 12. Yeah. So happy to discuss more about that part.
Well, I guess to continue on the shared sequencer thing, I'm very excited about based sequencing and the fact that this narrative is taking hold into the ecosystem. Since on mainnet and the release of based sequencing 3 weeks ago, we had I think like 40 block proposer and 20 provers. So it's like 40 times more than centralized sequencer. And I really hope other rollup follow suit. And when everyone does base sequencing, you have those cross-rollup opportunities that will open up.
Yeah, I think in my perspective is a bit different. I come from a more cross-chain infra rather than vertical scaling and sequencing. I think the most interesting element for interoperability or / what is enabling that is intent-based architecture, which breaks down the boundaries, or at least for the user, it breaks down the boundaries between the chains, cache, anything. So as a user, you can just relay your intent, and someone will get it for you. And this is across the chains, across the asset. So any digital asset for any digital asset, that this could translate to, like a very simple example is, I have X amount of BTC, would like to convert it to, let's say, ETH. That's an intent. And then a lot of interoperability comes into the play, how a solver does that. But I think that architecture of how you break down the interoperability into as simple as possible on the user end. I think that's quite powerful for any of the applications that are being built and how you bring value to the other chains as well. But it also goes beyond just Web3 and brings the Web2 element of e-commerce or basically anything. Just buying something from Amazon and having that as an intent for your holding, I think that's also part of the entire design. And I think it's more interoperable with going across the layers of TCP, IP, and the entire internet model.
Yeah, so from our side, in 2022, when we wrote the proposal for our current chain, by the way, Shriram, you asked about AVS as also. Shriram was one of the co-authors of that kind of chain design that we proposed in the summer of 2022. One of our philosophies is that we are not expected to be experts in every area. We are building, part of the stack. We take some Lego pieces from experts of other areas, and we pluck those Lego pieces into our stack, and that's kind of how we develop our like core protocol. And as better solutions and newer solutions come to market, we research, we see how it works maybe in some other protocols, and then we adopt them if we have conviction that it's safe, secure, and it's of course high performance. So for us, sequencer is one of those questions. Our engineering team also actually had a testnet, kind of a round-robin model running, but we found that it opens up new attack vectors. It actually opens up MEV, some other MEV opportunities. It is not as effective, and it makes the chain more expensive. So there are many downsides to it, and we decided not to push it too much forward. If you ask our engineering team right now, they're very excited to keep working on the decentralized sequencer. But again, kind of our original proposal for the chain was let's work with all the teams and see what solutions are out there. And of course, like Espresso's working on their own solution. In terms of shared sequencing layers, of course, like Optimism and the Superchain are working on very interesting. And like everybody has kind of their own models that they're exploring. And we're very comfortable being in a position where other experts are working on this, and we're kind of sitting back for a little bit and seeing what works, and then eventually we'll choose, what we go with. So for now, training wheels. Eventually, yeah, 100%. I mean, we all have to do this.
And to round off the panel, let's do a lightning round. We'll start with the Cecilia side. What is one word to describe crypto in the next 3 months?
Let's see.
Hold.
Sorry?
Hold. Hodl.
Oh, hodl. Okay, we're all hodling. Okay.
There is one word to describe Taiko that I like. It's total anarchy, because that's how we do our sequencing. But I think crypto is not anarchy anymore. It's getting a bit more professional.
Professional. I hope that's the word that we're using to describe it.
But I wouldn't use it.
Honestly, a safe answer, but surprises.
Okay.
I think we will see many a surprise in the next 3 months, and we shall see.
I don't want to risk, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have one word for anything.
It's hard to compress so much into one word. I think I'm privy to quite a number of conversations. I think we've discussed a lot about, like, how do we get more developers, how do we get more users, right? That at the end of the day is all what we want to move towards, is the next billion users. And I think one of the conversations I had recently with a very big Web3 company in conversation with an even bigger like Web2 tech company, when we're talking about the TPS and the actual throughput that Web3 is able to do in comparison to like any payments, right, Visa, MasterCard, we're still so far behind. And I think it's just my hope that by being more interoperable, by working together more, by putting out maybe a more fragmented ecosystem, we can all converge towards something that leads to more users. So thank you guys so much for joining the panel.
Thank you.